Hi. So for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to just set up a new project in the GT Designer Tree software. So it's a new project. We'll select the HMI that we're going to be using, and then we'll select the controller that we're going to be using. So to do this, we'll use the built-in wizard to help guide us through. So to start, I do project new, and that'll open up the wizard for us. Okay, so the wizard will guide us through what we need to do here. Just click next. There'll be plenty of clicking to be done. Okay, so the first thing we have to do here is which GOT do we have, so, or which graphic operation terminal. So we have a 2000 series, and the one we'll be using for this project is the GT2000S. Right, so just like that from the drop down. And just make sure that the actual model we have is in there. So this is the actual model we have. So you don't select a particular model. There's a number of models in there. So once you select the series up here, that'll do. And we're going to mount it in horizontal mode. And then the color settings, the graphic settings and all that, we can leave that as the default values. Okay, so we just click next. And it just asks us to confirm what we selected there. So then we go next again. So the communications then is how is the GOT going to communicate, or how's the HMI going to communicate? So with different types of communications and different controller from different manufacturers and that. We'll be using a Mitsubishi, and in the drop down here we're using the IQF series. So that's where the FX5U PLC, which is the one we're going to be using, is found. So we can click next on that, and then it's asking us the type of communications module that we're going to be using. Okay, so we have a choice between the Ethernet, okay, or 422, 485, 232. So they're the serial communications that we have on it as well. Okay, so we're going to be using the Ethernet multi. All right, so we just click next on that. And then it's asking for the gateway. There's one option there on that one. In the detail setting, there's nothing really that we need to go in here and change, but in here, that we're going to change for now, but in here, the GOT station that we have here, that is the host IP address of the HMI itself, of the GOT. Okay. And you can also see port numbers in here for the communication as well. So again, we're going to leave the IP addresses as default, so we won't change anything there. So again, we'll click next on that, and then it just gets us to confirm what we've just said there. All right, now we can add more controllers here if we want to, but we're just going to have the one, so we'll click next here. You can always add them later on anyway. Okay, so again, we get an option here to change the GOT IP address. So as I said, that 18, that's the host address of the GOT. So our network is 192.168.3, and then this is 18. Again, that's the default for the Mitsubishi HMIs. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. We don't need to worry about a gateway. And again, it's just looking at the ports there. We would stick with the default ports that it's using for communications. So we click next. And it's given us options here to put in extra screens and overlap windows and that kind of thing. For what we're doing at the moment, we don't need to change anything there. We can always, and we will later on, add screens inside in the navigation in the project as we go through it. Okay, so we'll just start off with the basic one, and then you just get a selection here of different screens that are available, just the different screen designs, I should say. So I'm going to stick with a black screen here because it just kind of pops better on the screen. And again, as it likes to do, it gives us the option to just confirm all that stuff that we just put in there. Right? And then we click finish. So once we've clicked finish, it's going to open up the project for us. It just takes a moment. And we're just going to have a look at a couple of things in here then once the project is open, and see where we have a couple of things. So defaults here to the system navigation window. So in here you can see just the likes of the GOT setup, the GOT IP address. So if we double click on that, it'll open up a window. So we can change the IP address in here if we want to later on. The type setting at the top here, again, double click on that, and we can actually change the GOT window and the screen and all that kind of thing. So we'll just cancel that. Down here then, so in the controller setting, we have channel 1 Melsec IQF, so that's what we selected there. it puts a default controller and it gives it a default IP address. So again, for the Mitsubishi FX5Us, the default IP address is 192.168.3.250. Okay, again, if we double click on that, we can go in here and double click here, and you can start to change the IP address if you need to. All right. Again, we're just leaving everything as default at the moment. This is also where we can come in and we can start to add additional controllers. Okay. So just cancel that there. We can go back here again. All right, so you can see up here, I can add another controller here. So if we have multiple PLCs on our system, I can just click new here. There he goes. It just takes a second. Okay, and you can see it just advances the IP address by 1. All right, again, we can go in there and we can change that if we want to. We can add multiple PLCs in here, and that is something, again, that we'll do later on. So we'll just cancel it because we have enough there. Down the bottom here on the under the nav, we've got 3 tabs. So the system one is what we've been looking at there. We've also got a project one. Okay. So this, if we do alarm setups and recipes and that, we'll have to come in here and add some information. So just got the, I suppose the database is where we'll add that information, put it into it. Okay, and then the third tab down here then is the screen, and this is where we can start to add new windows, new screens when we need to build out the project a little bit more. Okay. To the right hand side then, this is where essentially we have all our main components that we're going to be using. So we have our switches, our lamps, numerical displays and inputs, text displays and inputs, word comments, parts. Okay, we'll go through all these trend charts. We'll go through some of them. We have just a drawing feature here where we can draw just our own components on it, and we can import images and do that kind of thing as well. We'll go through some of those. And then we have these hidden tabs here for partages or for, oh sorry, I didn't mean to close that, but we'll come back to that. This is the main library for the key images or the key symbols that we'll be using in it, the built-in library. That's not the word, just sorry, that pin there pins it out. If you pin it again, it just auto hides it back here as a tab. So I closed the parts one there. Okay, so if you do that, we're just going to go to view, docking window, and then we'll find it here, parts images. That's the one I closed. So we just click on that again and it'll open up here, and then we can just click on the pin to auto hide it here as a tab. Okay. More controls up the top here, then we'll get into these as we go. I suppose the key one here is just these ones here for the grid. So this is my snap distance on the grid, and this is my grid interval. So this is where how far apart those dots are on the screen. So you can change that and make it finer for doing some finer work. It's easier sometimes to, if we just have, so this is the snap here. So if the snap and the grid side are the same, then I can see where I'm snapping to. So it makes life a little bit easier there. It defaults in the sort of mini window here. So if we just tap the maximize button here, it'll maximize the window space here. But this is the screen space that we have, so that we're working with. So anything we draw in the green area out here as such, that's not going to appear on our screen. All right, so it has to be within the black area that we have here. Okay, so that is the initial setup. Opening up a new project, using the wizard then to create, to select which GOT that we're using, and to tell it which type of controller that we're going to do. Set up the IP addresses, and some basic operation of the software itself.